Gyo, Tokyo Fish Attack. How bizarre can Japanese horror get? We're about to find out. Let's go. Gyo Tokyo Fish Attack is a short animated horror from 2012. It is based on a manga from 2001, which was created by Japanese genius of horror Junji Ito, whose work and accomplishments deserve their separate video. Gyo is a bizarre, unusual horror, which leaves speechless anyone who hasn't encountered Japanese horror before. Basically, this is a monster story, but in practice, viewer gets a lot more than he bargained for. What is actually going on? Well, the coast of Japan gets attacked by weird creatures. Sea life, fish, octopi, and sharks, don't forget sharks, whose bodies are dead and decaying, and who are walking on mechanical legs. They come out from the sea, spreading a horrible stench, because they are dead and decaying. Still, even though these animals are dead, sharks attack people. Octopi touch women inappropriately with their tentacles. We are still in Japan, and they walk on those mechanical legs. Now is a good moment to mention that horror as a genre should not be analyzed in too great a detail, and you should not look for inconsistencies and plot holes. Simply accept the premise and enjoy the ride. Main character is Kaori, and she with her friends Aki and Erika celebrates their graduation with a road trip. They soon get attacked by the monsters, injuring one of the girls. Kaori, worried about her boyfriend, Tadashi, goes to look for him. Fleeing from the monsters, she meets Jurišić, a TV reporter who wants to find out the truth about the attacks. Soon after, all the coastal cities are attacked and swarmed with bizarre creatures, who kill and destroy everything on their path. Kaori and Tsuyoshi, while looking for Kaori's boyfriend, go to Dr. Koyanagi, a crazy scientist. Of course, what good horror doesn't have a crazy scientist? There they find out why the monsters started appearing. It is because of a biological weapon developed by Japanese scientists during World War II. This is especially interesting because it is one of extremely rare examples in manga or anime where they mention inhumane and brutal war crimes of Imperial Japan. Anyway, they designed a bacteria that makes people release enormous amounts of gas, which smell terribly. The idea was to use diseased animals to attack the enemy, but since the bacteria also renders people immobile, the scientists developed mechanical legs for them to move. They are powered by gas that the diseased person releases, which makes that creature able to move and spread the disease. But before the Japanese were able to use it in war, ship carrying the bacteria was sunk by the American Navy, and thus the virus gets into sea. One of the more comical scenes from the manga depicts a big infected whale with enormous mechanical legs, and as it crawls out on the shore, those mechanical legs bend and break under the weight of the whale. Furthermore, as we find out about the virus, we see Erika, Kaori's wounded friend, gets infected, and she becomes a grotesque green creature filled with gas. The same fate befalls the third friend Aki as well, as she falls into a pit filled with these kinds of monsters. Now is a good time to mention that the story of the animation is changed in relation to manga, needlessly lowering its quality. Roles of the main male and female protagonists, Kaori and Tadashi, have been swapped. They also added Kaori's friends, which are almost useless as characters, and are there in order to spice up the narrative with a couple of sexy scenes, probably because of Western stereotypes that all horror must involve nudity in some form. After the pointless characters have been killed off, we can focus on the main plot. Searching through House of Dr. Koyanagi, they find Tadashi, already infected and decaying, tied to his mechanical legs. Dr. Koyanagi admits to designing those legs and that he wants to examine the bacteria because he is a crazy scientist. Manga explains a little better that his older relative was key in developing the bacteria. Tadashi, in his horrible state, breaks loose, and stabs the doctor with his mechanical leg as he flees to the city. Kaori runs after him. In the city, we find total chaos, where most people and animals are infected. Furthermore, the monsters evolve, and they create giant carriers that can hold several dozen bodies, making for a truly disgusting sight. Also, this is the first time we see invisible forces that draw the bodies together, so this is also a ghost story. The next segment is probably the most bizarre, and that is Citrus Circus. How in the world can a circus fit into this narrative? This segment is here mostly so that we the viewers can see the invisible force behind bacteria and monsters, the force that drives them. It is strongly implied for this force, especially in manga, that it holds the spirits of previously infected, as well as victims of inhumane experiments that the Japanese committed during the World War II. They are shown when the fire breather lights his gases and makes them visible to the naked eye. This whole segment is too bizarre to be explained, and you really need to see it in order to experience it properly. One of the numbers is Tadashi himself, who manages to get away and escape the circus. After that, it is finally the end for Tadashi. In the city, the rest of the infected attack Tadashi and tear him apart as he mournfully reaches to Kaori with his hand. This strongly implies that the infected are still conscious, which is especially terrifying. After this, story draws to a close. We find out that Tsuyoshi is infected and that Kaori is probably immune. He is left behind on the coast while Kaori uses a boat to escape to a ship where the rest of the survivors are. In a video collage, we find out that bacteria has spread all around the world and that there is little hope for humanity. And on that depressing note, the story ends. Story flows a little bit more naturally in the manga, where Tadashi is the main character and Kaori is an infected victim. Adaptation leaves out a lot of subtle elements, which doesn't do justice to the ingenuity of the writer and the way he depicts horror. Also, the fate of Dr. Koyanagi and his assistant, who is completely absent from the adaptation, is really interesting and of course terrifying, and it is a real shame we don't get to see their scenes animated, especially the Zeppelin scene and the moment when the infected doctor grabs his assistant and flies away with her. But okay, there's always manga to enjoy those moments. Gyo is a really weird experience, both to watch and to read, and we absolutely recommend it to all fans of horror. It's not really deep, but it has everything a good horror has to have: atmosphere, tension, bloodbath, and psychological trauma. It is a unique experience you should not miss, at least as an introduction into the weird world of Junji Ito. That would be it about Gyo. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social networks. Check out other videos on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time. Bye bye.